If you want to create a high-quality video but don't know where to start, don't worry. In this video, we'll teach you how to use storytelling techniques, frame your shots correctly, and capture great video and audio, all with your phone. We'll take you through a real-life example in a lab to show how to tell a compelling story. Let's get started. First up, should you shoot horizontally or vertically? Go vertical if your video is for Instagram stories, TikTok, or Reels. But if it's for YouTube, websites, or a professional setting, stick with horizontal 16:9, 1920 by 1080. This ensures the best viewing experience based on the platform. 1080p or HD is excellent for most social media and web use, as it keeps file sizes small and is easy to edit. But if you need extra detail or cropping flexibility, shoot in 4K. Remember that 4K requires more storage and a more powerful computer for editing. One simple but often overlooked step is to clean your lens. Your phone sits in your pocket or bag, collecting dust and fingerprints. A quick wipe with a microfiber cloth will improve its clarity. Good audio is just as crucial as video. The built-in phone microphone isn't great in noisy environments, or if you're more than a few feet away from the speaker, so we recommend using an external microphone or your earbuds for clear sound. Here's an example of using a built-in microphone versus an external microphone. Let's see if you can tell the difference.
Our MQB project is working on decellularizing adipose tissue for tissue reinsertion in the operating room. And so for this, we're looking at creating a process that can decellularize the tissue so that it can have regenerative properties for breast reconstructive surgeries.
I'm sure you would agree that the second half of that clip was much more pleasurable to listen to. Now you can hear how a simple microphone can take your video from amateur to pro. Please remember to always follow your lab's safety guidelines. The minimum personal protective equipment includes safety glasses, ankle-length pants, or a long skirt, closed-toed shoes, and shirts with sleeves. Lab coats must be worn if the subject is actively performing research or lab work. There's a splash risk, or the subject is wearing an unacceptable shirt. Gloves must be worn if the subject is showing off samples or actively performing research or lab work. Failure to follow these guidelines could result in your video getting flagged by the environmental health and safety technician. It is best to follow the guidelines so you don't have to reshoot any parts of your video. The best videos don't just capture random footage. They tell a story. A good structure helps guide the viewer. Think of your video as having a beginning, middle, and end. Let's take you through a day in the life of a student working in the lab. Before we get into the action, we need to establish the scene. Start with an exterior shot of the building, then a wide shot of the lab to show where we are. These shots help orient the audience. Have your subject put on their safety gear and capture the process. Now comes the fun part, the action. Instead of just filming from one angle, mix in the following: close-ups focusing on the hands, tools, and facial expressions. Capture over-the-shoulder shots for a first-person point of view. A great way to keep viewers engaged is to have your subject talk to the audience directly. Have students and faculty explain what they're doing, why they are doing it, and how it works. What is the desired outcome of the project or experiment? How will it have an impact? Capture close-ups with complementary elements. Focus on the supplemental surroundings, including materials, equipment, and processes in action. These essential elements, called B-roll, enrich the visuals in your story and help keep the viewer engaged. Now that we have our story, let's ensure it looks great. Here are a few quick tips for achieving professional-looking footage. Hold your phone with two hands for increased stability. Use a tripod or invest in a handheld Osmo for smooth, creative shots. Try cinematic mode for a pleasing blurred background on people. Try using the wide-angle lens at 0.5x to capture more details. Ensure the scene is well lit with bright lights, or shoot during the day when natural sunlight can enhance the ambient lighting. Try different angles. Get low and high and put your camera in unique spaces for interesting shots. Be mindful of the headroom. Only allow enough space above the subject's head to fit a hat. Otherwise, it's wasted space that could include interesting and supportive visuals. Try to exclude the ceiling and overhead lights from entering your frame. Editing is where your story comes together. You can use Adobe Premiere Pro for advanced editing or apps like CapCut and Canva for quick edits. Just make sure to remove unnecessary parts, add smooth transitions, and keep it short and engaging. Finally, when exporting, make sure your video maintains its quality. You can't upscale from HD to 4K without decreasing the quality of your video. so it's crucial to always export at the source video's resolution or smaller. Alternatively, if your source video was shot in 4K, you can downscale and export to HD or 1920 by 1080. Choose MP4 or H.264 when exporting file types for maximum compatibility. Here's a sample of the final product. You can recreate something similar yourself. Keep it as concise as possible for maximum engagement.
Our MQV project is working on decellularizing adipose tissue for tissue reinsertion in the operating room. And so for this, we're looking at creating a process that can decellularize the tissue so that it can have regenerative properties for breast reconstructive surgeries. And so currently we've been testing methods using chicken fat, which can be seen here. It doesn't look the best. And so we're looking at a physical disruption method that can rupture the cell membranes, leaving the ECM components for collection. And so we've been testing out methods using syringes in decreasing size diameters to kind of break up with shear force. And then we've also been using a Dremel tool, and this kind of emulates an immersion blender where it can actually blend the tissue at high speeds. And so those are what we have been currently doing for a physical method to start out the process.
What we are planning on doing is using the centrifuge machine to spin down that fat that hopefully we have broken up, and if there is separation, like what you would see right here, that is a good indicator that we are actually breaking down those cells and getting two different components of those cells. Another big part of our project involves using the microscope, and we're actually testing on cells which will mimic human tissue a little bit more. So what we've been doing here is swelling our cells. So we've been adding water to them to see if they'll get bigger, which will disrupt those membranes, and hopefully they will end up bursting.
And that's it. With these simple tips, you can create high-quality videos on your phone. Remember, tell an engaging story by taking your audience on a journey. Check out the links below for equipment suggestions. We've also provided links to additional tutorials on proper equipment usage and video editing to enhance your productions. Most importantly, have fun.